Thanks for checking out this review video. So it is time again for me to start going through these episodes of Creepshow, and now we're on season 3. And if you don't know, just to let you know, I will do a review before the episode comes out. I will be releasing these reviews on Mondays. They are no spoiler, and in the end, after all the episodes have been done, I will also release some videos of me ranking every story of season 3 and then also ranking all the stories of all the seasons as well as the specials in one giant list. So I will do that afterwards. Now, I'm always excited for Creepshow to show up again because even though I don't like every single story, it's always fun to get that kind of bite-sized horror story. The fact that each episode is less than an hour and you get 2 stories with it, even if you don't like something, you can just look forward to the next one, and it didn't take a ton of your time. That's why I don't get mad if there's one that I don't like. Like, I do get mad if I watch a movie that I don't like, because that's usually about, an hour and a half or so of my time, so that's a much bigger thing. But anyway, let's get into this. And like I said, no spoilers on this. Oh, also, I can't do a synopsis of these because per the agreement for me doing reviews early, I can't say anything that would spoil anything about any of the events of the story. So I can't speak about specific events. So I'm walking a very fine line, doing my best to give you enough. And if you have seen the episode when you're watching this already, you should know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it, I'm not giving anything away. So it's a tightrope I'm walking. Okay, so this one goes up Thursday, September 23rd, and then after that, it's going to be every Thursday each week for probably 6 weeks because they usually do 6 episodes. So, but we'll see. So the animation is done for the creep in this one. Sometimes they do practical effects creep, sometimes they do animation creep. They do the animation for this one, which I'm totally good with because I like how it gives that comic book feel. Because obviously, the original Creepshow was based off of those EC comics from back in the day. So I like that. My only criticism of the creep in this one is there's not enough of the creep, in my opinion. There's just like the beginning intro animation, and then there's no other like animation of the creep. It just shows him in comic book pages when they go between stories. So I felt like I needed more creep. So that's my biggest issue there with him. I do have a complaint about the story titles, at least for these, and I think that in the past episodes or the past seasons it hasn't been as bad, but for at least the first 2, I feel like the titles are too on the nose in my opinion. I do feel like they have a tendency to give too much away. Trying to be vague, but that's all I'm going to say about that. So, let's go to the first story in my rating of this one. This one is called Mums. It's directed by Rusty Cundiff, who did Tales from the Hood, and then also did the Creepshow story Sibling Rivalry, which I thought was pretty solid. Written by Greg Nicotero, who the only other one that he's written was the Creepshow Holiday Special. He's directed a bunch of them, which I think he directed the second story in this, so I'll talk about all the ones he's directed. The big name, or the recognizable name for this story, is Ethan Embry. If you're not familiar with Ethan Embry, I knew him most from the movie Can't Hardly Wait, which I still love. No shame there. I think he's a good actor. He's also been in The Devil's Candy, Night of the Wolf, an episode of Fear Itself, an episode of Masters of Horror, and an episode of the new Twilight Zone. So he's kind of hitting all those types of shows. I will say that Ethan Embry in this plays a very different role for Ethan Embry, and he does a crazy good job, in my opinion. He nailed it. He's almost unrecognizable, like with how well he does it, because he also changed his appearance a bit. Really good job, Ethan Embry. He's my favorite part of this story, Mums. He was great. Some events are very timely in this one. The kind of underlying story that's going on, that's on the surface, is very, very timely for things going on in the news and things going on horror-wise in real life. So I will just place that there. There's something that happens that gives you a strong indication where things are headed, especially because of an auditory cue that they end up giving to you during it. Now, I already said the title kind of points to too much. This thing that kind of like strongly points to what's, to come, it's fine to do that, but like putting on top of it then that auditory cue it's just a little over the top. Now some people may argue like Creepshow, like that's what Creepshow is steeped in, like it does over the top. So that's fair. It's just something that I'm not a huge fan of. There's a time lapse sequence that greatly impacted by the sound design. So first of all, the time lapse sequence looks cool. I really did enjoy the visuals of that. But on top of that, there's really cool sound design that goes with it that really does enhance the experience of that time lapse and also gives another aspect of the story that they're trying to give you. So that was really well pulled off. There are some solid practical effects and light use of CGI. So they did a great job of kind of integrating CGI in a proper way so it doesn't look crappy. Usually, using it to enhance practical effects, but also having the shots of it be really quick so you can't fix your eyes on it for too long. So you get the idea of what they're going for and you see it, but you can't see like how the edges of the CGI don't look so great. So properly used CGI, pretty solid practical effects for this one. This is real life horror meets fantastical horror with a satisfying enough ending, in my opinion. Now, my overall rating of this one, I was between 2.5 and 3, but I'm going to 3 mainly because of Ethan Embry's performance. It's a pretty solid enough story. Ethan Embry did an outstanding job in this one, and yeah, I'm going to give it 3 stars. All right, excuse me. So that takes us to the second story, which is Queen Bee. This one's directed by Greg Nicotero, and all of the stories that Greg Nicotero has directed for Creepshow are, get ready, it's a list: Gray Matter, The Finger, Survivor Type, Twitterings from the Circus of the Dead, Shapeshifters Anonymous, Not Model Kid, Public Television of the Dead, Pesticide, and Night of the Living Late Show. When it comes to directing, Greg Nicotero is doing the lion's share for Creepshow. I mean, he's a showrunner, so it makes sense. This one's written by Eric Sandoval and Michael Rossolet, who also wrote the story for Dead and Breakfast, which, if you saw my review of the Dead and Breakfast, I was not a fan of that one. So going into this, I was like, oh, I will say I like this one more than Dead and Breakfast, but I'll talk a little bit more about it. No big names. There are no like big recognizable names for this one. And that kind of talks about, that goes to the acting in general. It's serviceable. It's not bad. It's not too bad. It's not good. It's in the middle. It's serviceable acting, which honestly, these Creepshow stories are very, very low budget. So you should really expect that most of the time the acting is going to be just serviceable. But when good performances or great performances happen, they really stand out. None of that in this one. Decent enough. This has a very young feel to it, and I think that the directing style that Greg Nicotero ended up using for this, especially in the beginning of the story, really does enhance that and kind of play into the younger feel of it. So for that reason, there may be people who don't like this story just because it's kind of geared towards a bit of a younger audience. They've done that with some of the other stories. I mean, biggest one that comes to mind is the Twittering from the Circus of the Dead, which I enjoyed. But yeah, it's very much geared towards a younger crowd. So just know that. You find yourself wondering where the horror aspect's going to come in, but once there's a change in location, it starts to emerge, and that's when things get significantly more fun. It does have this kind of air of where are we going with this story and what's the significance of the horror aspect to this. But once it gets rolling, you start to see where it's really going, and it does have some payoff. It definitely does. There's a very nice practical effects display in this. Not quite, well, at the end there is. So actually 2 pretty good ones. But there's one in particular that happens maybe like 10 minutes, 10 or a little bit less than 10 minutes until the end of the story. Really nice practical effects. Really enjoyed that. Now, they do enhance it with some CGI like they did in Mums, but this enhancement didn't go well. It looks wonky. The CGI that is used in this actually looks bad. That sucks. Done well in Mums, not done well in Queen Bee, unfortunately. Just saying. This does strike as a pop culture satire of sorts. So I do appreciate a satire aspect to things. It's over the top. I mean, most people, I'm pretty sure, will kind of see what they're trying to get at with this story in particular. So that is all I have to say about that one. So overall, I was between giving this 2.5 and 3, but I was like, no, it's definitely a 2.5. It's not as good as Mums. So a 3 star and a 2.5 star. It's about on par for what we've been getting for Creepshow. Hopefully, you out there enjoy it when you see it. So go ahead and put some comments when you do see it, or if you're watching this after it's already on Shudder and you do want to talk about it, you can go ahead and do spoilers in the comments as long as it's already been on Shudder, and then we can talk about that at length. But like I said, I'm going to be doing more videos. I will have the no spoiler reviews up for every episode the Monday before it comes out, so you can come here and get, a feel for the expectation of what you might end up seeing without spoilers. And then also, like I said, I'm going to be doing the ranked list of all the stories for season 3, as well as an overall for every story done in the Creepshow series. So that should be fun. So please do me a quick favor and hit subscribe if you haven't already. That is your way to repay me. If you like this video or any video I have ever done, it really keeps me motivated too. So I love that. Also, you can hit the notification bell button. That way you know when I will be putting up new videos. But regardless, I really do thank you for taking your time to check this out. And until next time, keep it brutal.